Welcome back to the DRS zone. If you were walking past the Mercedes hospitality suite this week, specifically on Monday, you probably would have heard the kind of silence that's actually louder than shouting.
Oh, yeah.
The paddock is tense. And I don't mean close championship tense, I mean lawyers are billing overtime tense.
It's the kind of atmosphere where, eye contact is avoided.
Yeah.
We are looking at a full-blown war in the boardroom, and Mercedes has just dropped what I can only describe as a strategic nuclear option on the rest of the grid.
And it's not just the team principal, Toto Wolff, throwing his weight around this time.
Yeah.
We're talking about Ola Källenius, the CEO of the entire Mercedes-Benz group. He stepped out of the corporate shadows and, effectively drawn a line in the sand.
The message to the FIA is just brutal. If you touch our new engine, we will see you in court.
Which is an incredible escalation.
It is. Usually these technical squabbles stay within the sporting arm. When the main board CEO gets involved, it means the stakes are, they're financial and reputational, not just sporting.
Exactly. And we have rival teams like Honda and Audi, absolutely furious. Belligerent was the word I heard, threatening to appeal race results before we've even had the first practice session.
And it's all over a secret trick inside the Mercedes engine that arguably bends the laws of physics.
Or at least it bends the rule book until it snaps.
Yeah, it's a trick that targets a very, very specific gray area in the 2026 regulations.
So let's stop wasting time. We need to unpack this mess. Because if the rumors are true, the 2026 championship might be decided by a judge, not a driver.
Let's get into it.
Okay, so we have to start with the hardware. The magic engine. Everyone is throwing around these numbers. 16-1 versus 18-1. Now, I know my way around an engine block, but for everyone listening, let's be crystal clear about why these numbers matter.
Right.
High compression usually means engine knock, right?
Mm-hmm.
It means the fuel explodes before you want it to, and you destroy the engine.
Correct. In a standard combustion engine, you are always fighting a compromise. You want high compression because that gives you efficiency and power, more bang for your buck. But if you go too high, the heat and pressure cause pre-ignition or knocking, which acts like a hammer inside the cylinder. It destroys pistons.
So the 2026 regulations set a hard limit to stop teams from blowing up their budgets chasing this.
Right. The rules state the compression ratio inside the cylinder must be a maximum of 16-1. That is the hard ceiling. No debate.
Okay, 16-1. Simple. But here is the genius, or the crime, depending on who you ask. Mercedes has built an engine that passes this test perfectly when it sits in the garage. The FIA scrutineer comes over with their equipment, measures the volume of the cylinder, and says 16-1. It is compliant.
But race cars don't win championships sitting in the garage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When that engine hits optimal operating temperature, when it's screaming down the straight at Monza or Silverstone, the compression ratio effectively changes. It shifts from that legal 16-1 up to an 18-1 ratio.
Which gives them a massive advantage. We aren't talking about marginal gains here. Going from 16-1 to 18-1 is a significant leap in thermal efficiency.
So more torque, less fuel.
More torque, less fuel consumption, and more raw horsepower. Yeah.
But hold on. The regulations say the ratio must be legal at all times. They don't say legal when parked. So how on earth are they getting away with this?
This is where we get into the definition of measurable. Mercedes has found a massive lacuna loophole. There is physically no way for the FIA to measure the compression ratio inside a running superheated engine during a Grand Prix.
You can't stick a ruler inside an explosion.
Exactly, you can't. So if you can't measure it, you can't police it.
So they rely on static checks.
De facto, yes. If it passes the static check, it's deemed legal.
Now, I want to challenge this for a second.
Yeah.
Because every engine expands when it gets hot.
Sure.
Metal expands. Pistons expand. Are we sure this isn't just Mercedes accounting for thermal expansion better than Honda or Audi? Why is everyone calling this a trick?
That's a great question, and it's the first defense you'd expect Mercedes to use. But the reports coming out of Germany and Italy suggest this is way beyond simple thermal physics.
So it's not just the metal swelling.
No. If it were just metal expansion, everyone would be doing it, or the FIA would just regulate the alloys.
So what are they doing?
The leading theory involves a second combustion chamber.
A second chamber? That sounds like something out of a sci-fi novel. What does that actually look like?
Well, imagine the cylinder head isn't just one fixed dome. Imagine there is a small auxiliary cavity connected to the main chamber. When the engine is cold or at low load, this chamber is open or accessible, adding volume to the cylinder.
Okay, so more volume means a lower compression ratio.
keeping it at that legal 16-to-1.
Okay, I'm with you. It's like having an extra room in your house that you just leave the door open to.
Exactly. But when the engine heats up, or perhaps triggered by oil pressure at race speeds, a mechanism, maybe a valve, maybe a hydraulic actuator, closes that chamber off.
So the extra room disappears. The door slams shut.
Yeah. And the volume shrinks. And when you squeeze the same amount of fuel and air into a smaller space,
The compression ratio skyrockets. Suddenly you are running at 18-to-1.
you have a shape-shifting engine.
That is, well, it's devious,
Right.
but you have to admit it's brilliant engineering.
It is absolute genius. It's the kind of thinking that defines Formula One. It honors the letter of the law, the static test, while completely bypassing the spirit of the law.
And clearly they didn't just stumble upon this. This takes years of R&D.
Oh, for sure.
Which brings us back to the politics. Mercedes says they have a green light, or visto bueno, from the FIA. What does that mean? Did they show the FIA the blueprints?
Almost certainly. Teams often send technical queries to the FIA during development. They'll ask, is this design legal? And if the FIA writes back saying, yes, based on current testing procedures, this is compliant, that is a golden ticket.
And that ticket is what Ola Källenius is holding on to.
Correct. And this is why the CEO is involved. Mercedes can argue they acted in good faith. They spent tens of millions of dollars developing this architecture based on the FIA's assurance.
So if the FIA turns around now, just because other teams are complaining,
Then Mercedes has a slam-dunk legal case for damages.
hence the nuclear option. Källenius isn't just threatening to protest. He's threatening to sue the governing body for what effectively amounts to, what, breach of contract, unfair sporting practices.
And the FIA is terrified of that. They cannot afford a legal battle with Daimler AG. It would bankrupt the federation or at least humiliate them.
But surely the FIA has a counter move. They can't just let a car run an illegal configuration because they're scared of a lawsuit. I heard rumors Mercedes is using the safety card. How does a 15-horsepower boost count as safety? That sounds like the oldest trick in the book.
It is the oldest trick, and it's also the most effective. Remember the Michelin tire saga in Indianapolis, 2005?
Oh, vividly. 6 cars racing, everyone else in the garage. A total farce.
Safety is the ultimate trump card. Mercedes will argue that the engine was designed holistically around this variable compression. They will claim that if the FIA forces them to lock the mechanism or remove the second chamber, the thermal dynamics of the engine will fail.
So, Judge, if you make us change this, our engines will explode.
Precisely. They will argue it compromises reliability to the point where it becomes dangerous for the driver. If the engine seizes at 300 kph because you changed the cooling parameters, that's on you, FIA.
Wow. Talk about a checkmate. No regulator wants to be responsible for forcing a team to run an unsafe car.
Even if everyone knows the danger is a convenient excuse.
It paralyzes the FIA.
Completely, they are stuck between a rock and a hard place. If they ban it, Mercedes sues. If they keep it, the rest of the grid revolts.
Okay, so let's talk about that revolt. Because Honda and Audi aren't exactly small players. They have their own armies of lawyers. You said they are belligerent. What does that look like on the ground?
It looks like protests. Honda and Audi feel they have been duped. They designed engines to the spirit of the 16-to-1 rule. They are looking at the data, seeing Mercedes with this magic 15-horsepower advantage, and they are threatening to appeal the results of the Australian Grand Prix immediately.
So we could watch the race, see Lewis or George Russell, cross the line first, and then wait 6 months to find out who actually won.
That is the nightmare scenario. We could have an asterisk championship. And for a new manufacturer like Audi entering the sport and immediately getting smoked by a loophole, that is just humiliating.
So they're pressuring the FIA to act now.
Immense pressure. To issue a technical directive to close the loophole now?
But if Mercedes has that legal shield, a technical directive might not be enough.
Exactly. And that leads us to the most fascinating irony of this whole story, the ADU.
Ah, yes. The Additional Development Unit. This is buried deep in the 2026 sporting regulations. I feel like a lot of people glanced over this, but it might be the key to the whole season.
It's the catch-up clause. The FIA anticipated that with new engine rules, one manufacturer might get it terribly wrong. So they wrote in a rule. If a manufacturer's engine is more than 3% down on power compared to the class leader, they are granted special privileges.
Privileges like what? Extra budget cap.
Better? More wind tunnel time, more dyno hours, and crucially, more upgrade tokens. They get the freedom to change the hardware of the engine mid-season to close the gap.
Okay, let's do the napkin math here. If these engines are pushing roughly 500 horsepower from the internal combustion side, What is 3%?
3% of 500 is 15 horsepower.
15 horsepower. Wait a minute. That number keeps coming up. That is exactly the advantage experts think Mercedes has with this trick.
Precisely. And this is where the game theory gets incredible.
So wait, if Mercedes dominates, if they unleash the full power of this 18-to-1 compression ratio and gap the field by 15 horsepower, they might accidentally trigger the helpline for their rivals.
Yes. By being too good, Mercedes effectively sanctions copycat engineering. If Audi is proven to be 15 horsepower down, the FIA officially declares them in the ADU zone. The FIA effectively says, okay, Audi, you are too slow. We are giving you permission to tear up your engine design and copy what Mercedes did.
That is wild. It's a double-edged sword. You win the race, but you hand over the blueprints.
It creates a fascinating strategic dilemma for Mercedes, doesn't it? Do they sandbag? Do they turn the engine down to just under that 3% gap so they stay ahead but don't unlock the help for Audi?
But if they sandbag, they risk losing the race.
Exactly. It's high-speed poker. But there is a catch for the rivals, and it's a painful one.
There's always a catch.
These ADU upgrades aren't instant. You can't just 3D print a new cylinder head on Sunday morning. The regulations usually require a period of data collection to prove the deficit is real. We're talking about the first 5 or 6 Grand Prix.
Ouch. So even if the rule saves them, Honda and Audi have to suffer for 3 months.
They have to endure the first quarter of the season knowing they are bringing a knife to a gunfight. They have to produce and race at least 2 engines that they know are inferior.
So they're throwing away the first half of the championship.
Effectively, yes. All while they wait for the fix to be approved and manufactured.
That is brutal.
Yeah.
Imagine telling your drivers, hey, go out there and drive your heart out, but we won't actually be competitive until June.
It destroys morale. And in the cost cap era, throwing away parts is expensive. So even if the ADU allows them to catch up eventually, the damage is done.
And Mercedes could have a huge lead by then.
An insurmountable points lead by the time Audi gets their second chamber working. And that's assuming they can get it working.
Right. Copying a concept is one thing, making it reliable is another.
Correct. Mercedes has likely been refining this variable compression system for 2 years. Audi would be trying to rush it into production in 2 months. That is a recipe for engine failures.
So we have a technical trick that is borderline illegal but legally protected. We have a governing body that is paralyzed by the threat of a lawsuit. And we have rivals who are basically praying they are slow enough to get government assistance.
That sums it up pretty well.
Before we move to the verdict, I just need to pause for a second. We are, throwing around a lot of speculation about legal outcomes here.
We are.
So just for the record, this segment is part of our news coverage of recent F1 events. We are reporting on the positions taken by the manufacturers and the rumors circulating in the paddock.
Important distinction. But the tension is very, very real.
So what's the verdict? You're the expert. You see Kalenia standing firm. You see the FIA sweating. Does the magic engine stay?
My read on the situation, based on the absolute silence from the FIA and the aggression from Mercedes, is that the trick stays.
You think they blink?
I think the FIA has no choice. Banning it now creates more chaos than allowing it. They will likely hide behind the safety argument. They'll release a statement saying, we have reviewed the safety implications and determined that changing the engine architecture at this late stage poses a risk.
Which is code for, please don't sue us.
Exactly. They might tighten the rules for 2027. They might say, okay, you get 1 year of this. But for this season, Mercedes wins the boardroom war.
And the message to the rest of the grid.
Copy it or lose.
That is the ruthless nature of this sport, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not about fairness. It's about leverage.
It really is. We love the drivers, we love the overtakes, but F1 has always been an engineering competition first, and right now Mercedes has simply out-engineered the rulebook.
Or they hired better lawyers.
In modern F1, there is very little difference between a lead engineer and a lead counsel.
That raises a massive question for the future of the sport, though, doesn't it? If the solution to a regulatory loophole is just everyone copied the loophole, are we really seeing innovation? Or are we just engaging in an incredibly expensive game of follow the leader?
It's a valid fear. If we spend hundreds of millions just to end up with everyone running the same trick by Abu Dhabi, was it worth it?
And is this what the fans want? Do we want championships decided by who found the invisible ink in the regulations or by who drives the fastest lap? Because right now, it feels like the MVP of the season might be a guy in a suit in Stuttgart, not the guy in the cockpit.
It certainly feels that way today, But once the lights go out, usually the drama on track takes over.
Let's hope so.
A bit.
But with the threat of appeals hanging over the first race, we might be in for a long, litigious year.
We will be watching every development, especially that compression data.
You better believe it. Listen, this story is developing fast. We're hearing new rumors about the rival team's response every hour. Do not miss a beat of this developing war. You need to follow DRS Zone right now on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. We are posting updates as they happen.
The technical analysis doesn't stop here.
Absolutely not. We'll see you in the next deep dive. Until then, lights out, and away we go.